There are a couple ways to write the equation that goes, or the rule that goes with this table. If we do it like guess my rule, we can look at the 3 and the 8. And the way that I look at it is I go, what do you do to 3 to get to 8? And so the first thing I do is go add 5. Well, when I go to 2, if I add 5, 2 plus 5 doesn't give me 5. So that's not going to work. It's not just adding something. And it's getting bigger, so it's probably going to be 2 different operations. It helps to look right here. If I multiply, and because it's getting bigger, I think it's probably going to be multiplication and either adding or subtracting something, because division usually gets it smaller. So when I look here, 0, if I multiply anything by 0, it's 0. And my output when my input is 0 is -1. So that means I'm going to be subtracting something. So I go back to this 3 and this 8, and I go, what could I multiply 3 by and then subtract 1 and get 8? So I could start with 3 times 1. 3 times 1 is 3, minus 1 is an 8. 3 times 2 is 6, minus 1 is an 8. 3 times 3 is 9, minus 1 is 8. That seems to work for that. So I'm going to try it with this one as well. So 2 times 3 is 6. 6 minus 1 is 5. That works. And then I go to the input when the input is 1 and I get an output of 2. 1 times 3 is 3. And 3 minus 1 is 2. So it seems to work. So in words, I could put here, to get y, or the output, I'm going to multiply the input, x, by 3 and add -1. Now, the other way that we talked about in class today is we could also write an equation by first identifying the growth. Well, when I look at the input of being 0, 1, 2, 3, those are going in order. These 4 are going in order. When I go from -1 to 2, I have to add 3, and 2 to 5, I have to add 3, and 5 to 8, I have to add 3. So what's the growth going to be? Adding 3, because -1 plus 3 is 2, and so on and so forth. Okay, and then it says, what is the value of y, that output, when x is 0? So when I go right here, remember, even in the guess my rule, that entry was important. So that would be the point 0, -1. That's going to be important when we start writing equations. So 0, -1. Okay, so write this equation in y equals form. So again, if I go back up, it says to get y, I have to multiply 3 by x and add -1 or subtract 1. You could also write it like that. So now I got to go back up and fill in my table. -5 times 3 is -15. Minus 1 is -16. Feel free to use a calculator with this. Now 50 times 3 is 150, minus 1, that's 149. Now though, I have to go backwards. So what do I had to subtract 1. So to go backwards, I'd add 1. So what do I multiply by 3 to get 35 plus 1, which is 36? So if I take 36 and I divide it by 3, I get 12. And going forward, I could check it again. 12 times 3 is 36, minus 1 is 35. That works. Now the same thing with this one. What do I get? I had to subtract 1 and I get -31. So if I go backwards, I'd have to add 1. What would I multiply by to get -30? Well, let's try -10. And you can guess and check as well. -10 times 3 is -30, minus 1 is -31. So that would be the entries in my table. All right, so now they give us this table and or give us this equation to see if it works in this table, and I can just plug values in and see if it works. So I'm just going to pick an easy one, 0. I'm going to take -2, because this says to find my y, I take -2 times my x and add 5. So if I plug 0 in for that, so to find y, it's equal to -2 times 0.